Hey everybody, it's low carb and keto friendly nutritionist Amy Berger from 2nutrition.com, also author of the new ebook The Stall Slayer, stallslayer.com, link below, about breaking fat loss stalls on keto. I had to come in and do a really quick follow-up / part 2 to the video on losing your period on keto because there are two very important things that I forgot, and I did not want to have to re-record that entire thing. So here's the two bits of information that I forgot to mention. The first is when I emphasize that many of the women that lose their periods on a ketogenic diet are kind of already young and healthy and very active and they exercise a lot. Back off on the exercise, okay? There is such a thing called overtraining. You can search overtraining syndrome or overtraining symptoms. Losing your period is not always one of them, but it's definitely a big, big red flag. If you've lost your period and you are a very, very heavy exerciser, you're already kind of far in the hole because there's other things that would have tipped you off sooner to the fact that you're overdoing it before actually losing your period. And so I emphasized eating more food and I completely forgot the other part of that equation, which is backing off on the exercise, right? Just because some exercise is good and exercise is important and being active is important doesn't mean you should do it all the time, every day, nonstop, pushing yourself to the max. Can you exercise every day? Yeah, if you're not overdoing it and combining overdoing it with under-eating. So there's two parts of that issue. There's eat more, because the reason you've lost your period is because you're not replenishing enough. You're working hard, and you're not resting and restoring. So you need to eat more, but you need to rest more. And rest more might involve backing off on the workouts, whether that means going a little easier, like keep up the same frequency, do it as often as you do it, but back off on the intensity. Don't do it quite as hard. Just be active without pushing to the max every time. The other thing is push to the max every time, but if you're doing it 7 days a week, maybe do it 4 days a week. If you're doing it 5 or 6 days a week, do it 3 or 4 days. Just back off on some metric, whether it's the frequency, the intensity, or the volume, the load of stuff you're lifting, or whatever activity you're doing. Back off. It's okay. The other issue, now I harped on eating more carbs. Again, like I said in part 1, not 200 or 300 grams of carbs a day, but more carbs than you're typically eating on your super strict keto or low carb diet. And the reason I say this, there are sort of hormonal biochemical things that I frankly don't quite fully understand as to why more carbs would help you feel better, more so than the equal increase in calories from something like butter or coconut oil or pork chops. Calorically equivalent. So it's not necessarily the total amount of food energy. There's something about the carbohydrate that, again, I don't even really understand it. Does that mean you need those carbs? No, you probably could induce the same effect with protein and fat, but here's the thing. When I said in part 1 that many of us bring that old restrictive low-calorie diet mindset into keto, keto is not about starving yourself. Keto is not about counting every last calorie and every last gram. You can do that if you want to. The beauty of keto or low carb is that if you get it right, you don't have to count. You don't have to weigh and measure your food. You don't have to open your app or your spreadsheet every time you sit down to eat. I refuse to do that. I love food too much to do that. If you like the data, do it. The reason I kind of encourage increasing the carbs is because, and I said this on I did a podcast with Diet Doctor a while back, and maybe I'll link to that if I can find it. The reason I encourage increasing the carbs a little bit is because you could eat more fat and protein if you wanted to. You're not going to. it's really, really difficult to get some women out of that old diet mindset. You are simply not going to sit down to a 14-ounce porterhouse steak. If you will, do it. Great. Your period's probably going to come back if you eat that way for enough days and enough weeks till your next cycle or the cycle after that. I mean, it could take time. It's not overnight magic. But you're likely not going to do that because somewhere along the way your brain said that that's too much meat, or that's too big a steak, it's too big a pork chop. Ladies, it's not ladylike, it's unfeminine. You got to throw that out the window. If you've lost your period, your body is sending you a very loud, very serious signal that something is not right. And if you will sit down to, like I said, a 14 ounce, a 16 ounce, a 20 ounce ribeye steak, sirloin steak, pork chop, that big cowboy ribeye with the bone in it, or a huge, I don't know, some large amount of ground beef or sausages or bacon or whatever it is. If you'll do that, if you'll eat a big honking piece of meat with fat, do it. But I just know some of you aren't going to. You cannot get past the mental block that you have against it being unladylike or unfeminine or unseemly or whatever. You got to get over that. If you will eat a lot more protein and fat, do it. But if you won't, and many of you won't, for whatever reasons you have drummed up in your mind, or whatever reasons have been conditioned into your mind, however you came to have that mindset, you won't sit down to the 20-ounce porterhouse steak. But what you will do is sit down to the 5-ounce steak and a big sweet potato, or a 4 or 5 or 6-ounce pork chop and a big scoop of butternut squash puree, or something where you can get calories from somewhere. But I just know many of you are not in the mindset to sit down to that massive pile of fatty protein. I don't have that problem. I can out eat most men. It's kind of embarrassing, actually. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say, keeping this one short. If you didn't watch part 1 of this video, I'm linking to it below. You absolutely must watch that, or you're going to have no idea what I'm talking about. And I will see you next time. Do check out my ebook, The Stall Slayer, stallslayer.com, about breaking fat loss stalls on keto. Maybe my next book will be about keto and the menstrual cycle, or PMS, or something. I've had that in my mind for a while to do. See you next time. Bye-bye.